Welcome in to Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. We have some major Eagles rumors to get to pertaining to Tyrann Mathieu. Had a virtual visit with Philadelphia today, and according to Ian Rapoport, the Eagles are emerging as a prime location to land one of the best safeties in the National Football League. But since we're talking about safeties today, I also want to get to this trivia question, and in a few moments, I'll reveal the answer. Weapon X, Brian Dawkins, was taken with the what pick in the 1996 NFL Draft? Stay tuned because in a few minutes, I will reveal that answer. Brian Dawkins, a great safety. So too is Tyrann Mathieu. Get those votes in right now. So this coming from Ian Rapoport of NFL Network just moments ago. According to sources, free agent defensive back Tyrann Mathieu had a virtual visit with the Eagles today, a couple days after visiting with the New Orleans Saints in person. He is from Louisiana. And the Eagles, as Philadelphia has emerged as a prime location for one of the top free agents, the Honey Badger visited with the Saints this week, as we talked about, and now has done a Zoom interview with Philadelphia. His market is starting to heat up in the weeks leading up to the 2022 NFL Draft. And Mike Garafolo, also of NFL Network, added this: the Eagles have remained in touch with Tyrann Mathieu for some time now. Not a lot of money to work with, but they'd have interest at the right price. And if the Eagles are interested in Mathieu, and Mathieu is interested in Philadelphia, obviously it's getting to a point where the Eagles can be considered a legitimate destination for the Honey Badger. And while he's been in the league for a long time, starred with the Arizona Cardinals, starred for a long time with the Kansas City Chiefs, he has some mileage on the tires. There's no doubt about that. But Tyrann Mathieu, one of the most versatile safeties that we've seen in recent memory in NFL history, and he can also really still play at a Pro Bowl and All-Pro level. You take a look at what he's done over the last 4 years, he's been a monster. 2018, 89 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 8 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. And all of these numbers, they just go to show you just the versatility that Tyrann Mathieu has to his game and where you can line him up all across the football field. 2019, you see the consistent theme, up to 12 pass breakups and 4 interceptions. In 2020, he was great, 62 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 9 pass breakups and 6 interceptions. And this past year, he was still getting after it as a blitzer, as a guy who can drop back in coverage, as a cornerback as well. 76 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 6 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions. We'll continue to break down this really big Eagles rumor in just a few moments, and we'll get to more on the Honey Badger and more of my thoughts on him and why I think it'd be a great signing for Philadelphia as they really try to get back to competing in that Super Bowl window. And we'll also break down what his contract might look like. But first, I told you off the top, hey, we have a trivia question for you. Here is the answer. Did the real ones get it right? Brian Dawkins, 1996 NFL Draft out of Clemson, drafted in round 2, pick number 61. For all of you who actually got it right, good job by you. We continue to move forward with Tyrann Mathieu. How much will the Eagles offer, and how much is the Honey Badger going to demand on the open market? Because so far in NFL free agency, there's been a consistent theme that we've been monitoring and seeing across the league. What is that? Safety's getting paid big-time money. Marcus Williams goes from the Saints to the Baltimore Ravens, and in the process, inks a 5-year, $70 million contract. Quandre Diggs got paid by the Seattle Seahawks, coming off an injury nonetheless. He inked a 3-year, $31 million deal. Justin Reed with Kansas City signs a 3-year, $31.5 million contract, and that leaves an open market for Tyrann Mathieu to probably secure the bag and get something in the neighborhood of those 3 safeties who are before him, because he can still play and produce at a very, very elite level. So with that, I have another question for the homies and the audience. How much would you pay Tyrann Mathieu per year? What would his average annual value be? Get those dollar figures into the comment section down below. And it's actually a fascinating conversation to have because of the lack of cap space that Philadelphia and Howie Roseman has at its disposal. This is why you subscribe to Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Whether it's Thomas Mott, myself, Harrison Graham, Mitchell Renz, Tom Downey, we're bringing you the latest Eagles news and rumors with multiple videos per week. And we're getting to a point where we're basically pushing out videos every single day on Philadelphia Eagles Now. And how about this? One of the fastest growing channels here under the Chat Sports umbrella as we as a company continue to blossom and grow. 5 subscribers away from 27K. I hope that by the end of this video, enough of you have hit that red subscribe button down below, or in a separate browser, let this video roll and go to youtube.com/EaglesNow to subscribe. Now, Tyrann Mathieu's versatility really is amazing, and that was the case at LSU when, if you remember, he contributed on special teams as one of the best punt and kick returners in the country. He played cornerback and he played safety. Now, there were some questions about his character coming out of LSU, but then he gets into the pro ranks. He goes to Arizona, and he's considered one of the greatest people in the locker room. People love him. And then they see how his game translated from college to the pros, and they're like, wow, this guy is one of the best defensive players in the National Football League. A big reason for that, it's his versatility. You can play Tyrann Mathieu anywhere on the field outside of defensive tackle, and I'm not even lying. He can play safety, both spots. He can come up and play linebacker in coverage and against the run. He's lined up at outside corner. He's lined up at inside corner. So just imagine everything that he can do for defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, and everything that he can bring this football team, which is getting closer and closer to title contention as they continue to build this roster out. They're really leaning on Nick Sirianni as well as Jalen Hurts to take that next step. And if they do, we're talking about a team that can potentially compete for the NFC East this coming year, and Tyrann Mathieu would certainly help them do that. The Honey Badger would also bring leadership and more dog to the Eagles locker room. And we talk about dog culture from Nick Sirianni. He's the one who wanted his team to model dog culture, and Tyrann Mathieu really does epitomize that. Going back to his upbringing in Louisiana, in which it was tough, going to LSU and going through trials and tribulations, but coming out on the right side of that, working on some of those quote-unquote character flaws to become a clubhouse leader and one of the best defensive backs that we've seen over the last decade plus. And all of those instincts, all of those intangibles, the play, the effort, the drive, the competitiveness, the dog mentality, Philadelphia would eat that up from Tyrann Mathieu, and immediately he become a fan favorite up there with Brian Dawkins, as well as Malcolm Jenkins, because a lot of the same traits that they possess, Tyrann Mathieu does as well. As for how much he has left in the tank, I still think Mathieu can play, and I think if the Eagles were to offer him a contract between $10 and $13 million, you'd get some good bang for your buck. I'm not talking about Mathieu landing a deal 5 years, 70 like Marcus Williams, but let's go 3-4 years and give Tyrann Mathieu nice little average annual value to convince him to come to Philadelphia, where he could really flourish in this defense. This past year, 76 tackles in Kansas City, and if you remember to start the year, that Chiefs defense was absolutely dreadful. 1 sack as he can continue to blitz the quarterback, 6 pass breakups. He has the instincts as a defensive back, and 3 forced fumbles as well. So if Mathieu and the Eagles were to agree to a contract, it would be pricey because that's the dollar number that Mathieu does demand, and he's worked himself to a point where he deserves to get paid, and he's not going to take some crazy discount from Philadelphia. But if they offer him something in the neighborhood of another team out there across the NFL and another Tyrann Mathieu suitor, then Philadelphia can be a prime location, just like what Ian Rapoport said to my right. If you made it this far, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you're a real one. Lastly, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you want the Eagles, the Bird Gang, to ink Tyrann Mathieu to a deal, it'd be awesome for the Eagles. We'll see if it happens. This is why you subscribe. Thanks for making today's show part of your day.